Welcome back to another episode of Unscrambled Faith. I am your host, Megan Clark, and I am just so thankful for you guys pressing play and hanging out with me this week. Hope you're staying warm and cozy. You know what? I don't know if you can see my earrings right now, but if you can't, tradition, I'm going to go and describe them to you. So one of the ones that I'm wearing, is actually a very unique design. I came across, actually my mom actually, shout out to my mom, because she came across this company and they create these earrings to where it's very interesting because the bottom half like slides directly um, to your lobe, right? To your earlobe as you would, like any other earring, on your bottom lobe, like it goes through, but the top of it hooks to the top of your ear. Hopefully I'm making sense there. And there's individual unique designs, great craftsmanship, great quality, great price. Overall, very pleased. In fact, she ordered for me, ordered a couple, surprised me, which was incredible. Super nice gesture, and then I love them so much that I turned around and ordered some more for myself. Unfortunately, of course, brain fog is definitely happening right now, and naturally, I cannot remember the name. So I promise I'm going to get better about that. Because my thing is like, if I'm going to talk about my earrings and brag on whoever's designing or, whoever's selling like the earrings, whoever I bought them for, I want to shout them out. And, but I'll have to remember to get better at that. But what I can tell you is that it starts with an O. And like I said, it's very unique because when you see it, if you pull it up on the website, if you pull images of it up online at any given point, you'll notice that they sell them individually and then S sets as well, but I bought them individually because I was like, you know what, that's going to stand out a little bit more. And then I like mix and matching and wearing different smaller type earrings on the other side. But anywho, let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode. Again, I'm your host, Megan Clark. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me this week, but welcome back. Last week, just to give a little recap, if you maybe perhaps we're just getting into diving ahead and getting ahead, and I'll help you recap the last episode. So last week we talked a little bit about trusting God in the seasons of uncertainty, lean into his voice when the path ahead isn't clear, and learning to recognize the signs he's sending us. Man, I tell you what, I like when it comes to signs, I just love it so much when the universe aligns, when God shows us signs, right? When we're asking for signs, more importantly, whenever those signs align with one another, and it's just like one after another, or maybe perhaps in the moments when we're not always necessarily asking for a sign, but He's louder than ever. I just love it. And whenever God presents these signs to me, it's just so different from one another. Like, it could be like I'm hearing him, right? Like a voice and he's talking to me and there's something that he's letting me know, or otherwise relaying it through somebody else, or whatever the case may be. It's going to be different for all of us, really. But point is that I just love that when he is sending us signs. If you caught that episode, you know that we dug into what it means to live intentionally and make decisions aligned with our hearts, even when it's difficult. This week, I want to go deeper. I want to dive a little bit deeper and almost in a way like branch off of last week's episode. I want to share more of my personal journey over the last year or two, what it's been like to walk the hard path, to choose myself, and to trust God even when it's misunderstood. Sorry, y'all, gotta get a little bit of my water here. Stay hydrated, especially for my fellow neurodivergent friends, because ultimately, I'm gonna apologize because I feel like that's gonna happen a lot in this episode. My apologies. I've been talking all day at my job. All day. I need to rest my vocal cords after this. All right, so now I think we're good. So I want to go deeper. I want to share more of my personal journey and what it looks like to choose what it does look like, what it can look like to not only choose yourself, but what it looked like to choose myself and to trust God even when it's misunderstood. I'm opening up about the lessons I've learned, the faith I've had to walk in, and ultimately the freedom that comes when you align your decisions with God and your own soul. I realized early on that there were moments in my marriage when my husband and I were no longer aligned. There were small moments, deep conversations, subtle reactions, but over time, they revealed the truth. Our hearts and our paths were diverging. I spent years praying, reflecting, and asking God for signs, not to punish anyone or to avoid responsibility, but to gain clarity on whether it was time to come to continue on this path or to perhaps walk a different one. And through it all, I learned a key lesson. When you try to continuously force connection and someone isn't meeting you halfway, it's often a sign that it's time to bless, release, and move forward. So, for example, I think back to conversations where his response would catch me off guard. Small things, deeply rooted beliefs, or decisions he made that didn't necessarily align with me or within my spirit. Those moments, though difficult, became my wake up calls. God was telling me, pay attention. Notice this. This is important. Without that awareness, I really truly might have overlooked these signs that God was otherwise presenting to me. One of the biggest shifts for me has been learning that I don't owe anyone an explanation for the choices I make. I'm proud to say that I now make decisions fully aligned with my heart, my mind, and my soul. Of course, if someone otherwise wants or needs clarity, I am willing to provide it. I completely understand that because I'm the same way. There are a lot of times when someone may, otherwise be getting a point across to me or explaining something to me, and for whatever reason, it's not registering with me. So in that moment, once they're finished speaking, I normally am like, okay, can we go over that one more time? Or for my neurodivergent people, I know a lot of times what does help me otherwise is when someone is talking to me or explaining something to me, I really want to key in on that conversation, and almost in a way, it's like I will summarize whatever it is that they're saying, and I'll almost in a way like repeat it back to them, like but in a summed up way. And what's interesting is that I find that I do get a lot of feedback from those that have noticed that they feel like seen and heard. But interesting enough, little do they know that I'm actually doing that more or less for me to keep focus and to like stay present within that conversation and to be able to, carry on, that conversation and, to just be ultimately be more engaged. So I just love that, it comes across differently to them, but in a positive way. But I no longer second guess myself. This is huge for me because over so long of a period of time, I never could once ever at any point say that I'm not going to second guess myself, that I am standing firm in the decisions and the things that I ultimately want for myself or need for myself. Especially as a neurodivergent individual who often thinks through everything deeply. And if you know, and you understand. Just know that you are not alone, friend. Y'all, you're not alone. Like if you, how many times can I think back on conversations again that I've had with somebody, and then I'm on the ride home, right? I'm driving home. I'm leaving. I've hung out with somebody, had all the, conversation, talked all the things, caught up, whatnot. I'm on the way home. And then those conversations that I had with that person just kind of starts as like this wheel within my head, right? And then I start reflecting back on like the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Guilty. The shoulda, coulda, was. But here's the thing is that even though I do that in itself a lot, I'm now in kind of like this new, introducing myself, right, to this newer version of me where it's like, I don't want to second guess myself. It's very tiring. I still have those moments because I do want to have more clarity and understanding of, wait a minute, okay, wait, that person said that yesterday. And you had I don't know if y'all are like this or not, but I had this like I'll have a conversation with somebody, let's just say, like, for example, yesterday. And maybe like midway through the next day, I wouldn't say it's like random, but it's just a moment where it's just like this thought just kind of like pops into my mind, and it's like a maybe something that that person said, or a sentence that they said, or just the conversation itself, and I'm just like, wait a minute, that part stuck out to me. Why is it sticking out to me? And now I will say, as a fellow like neurospicy person, in the past I otherwise would have been like, oh, though I should have said that joke. Like it would have been really funny if I said that joke, or oh man, I could have said that thing in that conversation, and then that would have been so added so much more, context to that conversation, and then I can't say it anymore. That is how I used to be. But how I am now is more or less like, okay, wait a minute. Instead of dwelling on like what I could have said, I like to actually reflect back on everything that the other person said. It's almost kind of like if you have like a VHS tape, right? Or yeah, I guess I'll use that as an example. So like if you have a tape and you're like rewinding, right? You're looking back, and then kind of taking notes. But yeah, every now and then that happens to me. But words and time are very much very precious to me. To know me is to know that I am never going to take for granted a conversation that I've had with you. And I will also say that whenever I am speaking to somebody, I try to pause whenever I am having a conversation with somebody. And the reason why I'm pausing is because I want to be very intentional with what I'm saying to somebody, because words carry weight. Words to me are very important. I don't want to, for a very long time, I will say that I'm somewhat like socially awkward. And there was so many moments looking back where I would be in a group conversation or a conversation with just one person, and it would get like super quiet, and the quiet I was always very awkward with, right? And I felt like that if it got really quiet between, like on a car ride or in a group setting, instead of enjoying like the pause or enjoying like the quiet for what it was, I felt so uncomfortable, and then would otherwise just keep talking about something or bring something up that was irrelevant, not really necessarily adding what is it I want to say, like adding uh anything of value to the conversation. I was talking just for the sake of talking. But words and time are so precious to me, and I've worked really hard again to articulate my truth clearly and compassionately through any avenue of my life, whether personal or professionally. So, like, for example, when I made the decision to file for divorce, it was not done lightly. I prayed, I sought guidance, and I reflected on every possible option. I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I also had to be true to myself. I had to prioritize my growth, my peace, and my alignment with God. My faith moves mountains. My faith has evolved tremendously during this season of my life. I've learned what it truly means to walk by faith, not by sight. I couldn't see the end of the road, and if I'm being honest, I still can't. And I didn't know what the future holds. I still, even now, I don't know what the future holds for me. But what I can say, what I can tell you, is that I had to trust that God's plan was bigger than my fear of the unknown, my expectations, or my doubts. Even when I felt guilt for wanting more peace or more of a fulfilling partnership from my spouse, I remembered how far I've come. And to this day, I still remind myself over and over again how far I've come. There are people in my life who are still searching for that peace, reflecting on their struggles. For like myself, when I reflect on their struggles, it humbles me, and it's a quick reminder of how far I've come, the progress that I've made within myself. And it's something that I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get back to that old version of myself. And I'm humbled by not only how far I've come, but the work that I've done. And to know that even though sometimes it feels like I haven't made a lot of progress, or there's so much more ahead of me to go, or I just feel otherwise kind of like stuck, like in limbo, you know, kind of like cruising through, kind of going through the motions, right? Those pockets of time, have to, I really don't give myself a choice, because I want to remind myself of how different it used to be, or how otherwise it could have still been. God has brought me to a place where I can slow down, where I'm comfortable in the slow down, where I'm enjoying the peace and the quiet and the stillness without any other expectation, where I'm enjoying the time that I can self reflect, and that's when I ultimately truly find my peace. Chapter 2, or I'm sorry, 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7, for we live by faith, not by sight. I've also learned the importance of self-awareness. I've realized that I am a fixer. I always see and saw potential in others and wanted to help them grow. But growth must be chosen by the individual. I can love someone fully without expecting them to change for me. And I can choose a path that allows me to flourish spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. So, for example, when I shared my decision with my husband, I told him, "You are who you are, and that is perfectly fine. You shouldn't have to change for me, and I don't want you to." Accepting him for who he is and loving him without trying to fix him was liberating. Was liberating. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Now, for anyone listening who is standing at a crossroads, unsure of the path ahead, the hard path is often the one that aligns with your soul. The path that is ultimately the one that you know in your spirit is where you need to take that next step, is going to be the one that is going to feel the most difficult, the most jarring one. It's going to stir something within you. The hard path is often the one that is going to be misunderstood, maybe even judged by others. But if your heart and God's voice are guiding you, you know it's right. You know it's right because it's going to perfectly align with your heart, your body, and your soul. There's not going to be any excuse for it. It's just going to feel right. It's going to sit right within your spirit. And when you know, you know. I personally had to ask myself, if I don't take this step now, what will my life look like 5, 10, 20 years from now? That reflection gave me courage to choose the path that I knew God was calling me to. Even when it was painful, even when it's been painful, even when it was misunderstood. Proverbs chapter 3. My apologies. Proverbs 3. No, wait. Words are hard. Sorry, y'all. I'm getting tongue-tied. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So, all right. If you're walking through a season of uncertainty, know this. You don't have to have it all figured out. I'm here to tell you. Surprise, surprise. You don't have to have it all figured out. Crazy, right? God is guiding you, even when you can't see it. Again, going back to the fact that, like, it's just so important for us to walk by faith, lean into your faith, lean in what you know about your faith, not by sight. In other words, there's ultimately no other choice but to lean on the faith and the understanding that God has your back. God has a plan for you. We there's no other choice because we, again, can't predict our future, right? We don't know what lies ahead. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But what we do know, what we can stand in, is the fact that there's truth to our faith. Your faith thus far up until this point in your life has gotten you to this point. Faith, whether it's faith in humanity, faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in your friends, your faith has gotten you to this point and will continuously walk with you through the road ahead, through what's to come tomorrow, right? Faith. Lean into your faith. It's lean into your heart, to your beliefs. Because here's the thing, is that even though we may not necessarily know what's to come tomorrow, or what lies ahead in our future, what we do know is what's behind us, how far you've come, the things that you have been able to walk through, survive through, things that you have let go of. All of that is behind you, right? And even though we don't know what lies ahead, trust in knowing that where you're standing, where you're sitting right now, you can trust that moment. Trust the present of what's happening right now. Trust have faith that even though we may not understand what's going to come tomorrow, what lies ahead, faith in knowing that you've come this far. Keep one foot in front of the other. Keep going. Keep walking. Keep with the faith. So, again, if you're walking through the season of uncertainty, know that you don't have to have it all figured out. You're allowed to choose yourself, to protect your peace, and to embrace the path that He has laid in front of you. I hope my story encourages you to take a hard step with faith. And if it resonates with you, I'd love for you to share this episode with someone who might need it. Leave a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes. Your journey matters, and God's got you every step of the way. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. And as always, don't forget to unscramble your faith and find clarity in the chaos.